What would you do if the family you gave everything for turned on you, spitting venom in your own home? Picture this. I'm Alice, a mother who sacrificed her career, her savings, her life to raise her son, Tom, and build a future for him. But at a tense Chicago dinner, he screams, "You are nobody in this house." His wife, Sarah, laughing as my world crumbles. 30 years of love, reduced to ashes. Yet in that moment, I didn't break. I picked up my old briefcase, dusty but heavy with the woman I used to be. Sharp, fearless, unstoppable. They thought they could bury me. They were wrong. What happens when a mother scorned reclaims her power? Turning the tables on those who betrayed her. Subscribe now to find out how Alice rewrites her story, one calculated move at a time. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers this week. The clatter of forks against plates stopped dead. Tom's voice sliced through the dining room, raw and jagged. "You are nobody in this house." I froze, my wine glass halfway to my lips, the red liquid trembling in my grip. Across the table, Sarah's laugh was sharp, like glass breaking. "Oh, Tom, don't be so dramatic," she said, but her smirk said she loved every second of it. The suburban Chicago dining room. Our dining room once felt like a stage, and I was the fool in the spotlight. The half-eaten roast sat congealing in its dish, surrounded by mashed potatoes and spilled wine. A framed photo of Tom's college graduation hung on the wall, mocking me. 30 years of sacrifices. My career, my savings, my life, reduced to this. My son, red-faced and pacing, loomed over the table. "You live here on my dime now, Mom." "My dime?" His fist hit the oak table, rattling the cutlery. Sarah tossed her napkin down, the gesture lazy, dismissive. "What do you even do all day, Alice?" "Dust the guest room." Her voice was honeyed venom, her manicured nails tapping the table. "The guest room. My room now, in the house I'd bought for them." I set the glass down, careful, deliberate. My hands shook, but my face didn't. "You'll see who I am," I said, my voice low, steady. Tom snorted, turning away. Sarah's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. The air was thick, suffocating, every breath a fight. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood. Their eyes followed me, Tom's angry, Sarah's amused. I grabbed my coat from the rack, the wool rough under my fingers. In the hallway, I paused at the console table. There it was, my old leather briefcase, its edges worn, dusty from years of neglect. My fingers closed around the handle, the weight grounding me. Tom's voice chased me. "Running away again, Mom?" Typical. I didn't turn back. The front door creaked as I opened it, the cold Chicago night rushing in. I stepped out, the door clicking shut behind me, soft as a whisper. In the driveway, my breath clouded in the November air. The briefcase hung heavy in my hand, a relic of the woman I used to be, sharp, capable, feared. The woman they'd forgotten. My eyes narrowed, the streetlights glinting off the icy pavement. They thought I was nobody. They were wrong. Before you continue listening to this story, please click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers by the end of this week. The photo album hit the coffee table with a thud. Tom's graduation picture stared up at me, his grin wide, mine wider. I'd been so proud then, signing the last of his college loan payments. My pen steady despite his curt "Thanks, Mom." That memory stung now, sharp as the Chicago wind rattling my apartment's thin windows. I paced the cramped living room, the faded wallpaper swallowing the light from a single lamp. My anger hadn't faded since last night's dinner, but it wasn't wild anymore. It was a blade, sharpening itself. The apartment was silent, no messages blinking on my phone, no footsteps in the hall. Just me, and the weight of 30 years given to a son who called me nobody. I stopped at a framed finance award on the wall, its gold lettering dulled by time. Alice Green, Analyst of the Year 1998. That woman had been unstoppable. I needed her back. My fingers brushed the phone in my pocket. Jack Crow's number was still in my contacts, uncalled for years. My thumb hovered, then pressed. "Alice." Jack's voice was warm, surprised, when he answered. "Been too long." "Need to talk, Jack. Can you meet me?" My voice was firm, no room for doubt. "Diner on Wabash, 1 hour," he said, no questions asked. The drive to the Loop was a blur, the city's lights smearing through the windshield. The diner smelled of coffee and grease, its vinyl booths cracked but familiar. Jack slid in across from me, his gray hair thinner but his smile the same. "You look like hell, Alice," he said, not unkindly. "Feel like it too." I sipped my coffee, the steam curling between us. "They threw me out, Jack. Tom, Sarah. Called me nothing." His jaw tightened. "You were the sharpest analyst I knew, Alice. That's still in you." I leaned forward, elbows on the table. "I gave them everything. The house, his education, my career. No more. Jack nodded, slow, thoughtful. What do you need from me? A way back, I said. I need to remember who I am. He grinned, just a flicker. Start by trusting your gut. You always had the best. Back home, the apartment felt less like a cage. I knelt by the bed, pulling out a dusty box. Inside were my old financial journals, their pages yellowed but precise. My fingers traced the numbers, the deals, the wins. That woman was still here. I opened a journal, the spine creaking, and started reading. The plan was coming. The glass doors of Lynch and Associates parted with a soft hiss, and I stepped into the hum of Chicago's financial district. My briefcase felt lighter today, my posture straighter. The office was all sleek lines and glass walls, the air sharp with the click of keyboards. Mary Lynch stood as I approached, her smile warm but professional. Alice Green, as I live and breathe, she said, gesturing to a conference room. Good to see you, Mary. I set my briefcase down, the leather catching the light. I need your help. We sat at a polished table, spreadsheets glowing on her laptop. What's the play? She asked, her eyes sharp, like they'd been 20 years ago when we'd closed deals together. Tom and Sarah. I said, my voice steady. I need to know where they stand. Financially. Mary's fingers flew over the keyboard, pulling up records. Your son and his wife, huh? Let's see. The screen flickered, revealing mortgage details. House on Elmwood. Loans hefty. Missed 2 payments this year. My lips curved, just slightly. That's so. She glanced at me, a knowing look. You haven't lost your touch, Alice. I leaned closer, scanning the numbers. The house, my house once, was a weak point. Leverage. I jotted notes, my pen steady, the old rhythm returning. Can you get me more? Bank contacts, payment history. Give me a day, she said. But you're already ahead of the game. My phone buzzed, the screen lighting up. A text from Sarah. What are you up to, Alice? Stop sneaking around. I pocketed the phone, ignoring the jab. Let her wonder. Mary watched me, her expression unreadable. Careful, Alice. You're playing with fire. I know, I said, my voice low. But they lit the match. We worked for an hour, my focus razor sharp. Names, dates, figures. They came alive under my hands, like they used to. Mary printed a report, sliding it across the table. Start here. Midwest Trust. Ask for Daniel Pierce. I nodded, folding the paper into my briefcase. The conference room's chill clung to me, but inside, I was warm, alive. Back at my desk, temporary, borrowed. I opened the report. Daniel Pierce's name stared up at me, a door cracking open. I wrote it down, my pen steady, and closed the notebook. The next step was mine. The pen glided across the page, my signature sharp and final. The lawyer's office smelled of old coffee and ink, its cluttered desk buried under files. I caught a typo in the shell company's incorporation form, Greenfield Holdings, and pointed it out. The lawyer, a balding man with skeptical eyes, grunted but corrected it. You're thorough, he said, almost impressed. I just nodded, my focus on the papers. This was the first brick in my wall. Back in my apartment, I paced the creaky floorboards, phone pressed to my ear. The bank's hold music droned, but I kept my voice steady when the clerk finally answered. Greenfield Holdings verification for account setup, I said, reading off the code Mary had sent. A delay, some missing form threatened to stall me, but I pushed, calm but firm. Check again. It was faxed yesterday. Pause, then confirmation. I hung up, my pulse steady. One hurdle down. Mary's email came next, succinct. Banks open to negotiating the mortgage transfer. Keep it clean. I typed back, invisible as promised. My fingers moved fast, pulling up mortgage protocols online. Every step had to be airtight, untraceable. Tom and Sarah couldn't suspect a thing, not yet. My phone rang, shrill and sudden. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring twice, then answered. Leaning against the window, Chicago's skyline a gray smear beyond the glass. What is it, Sarah? Her voice was tight, accusatory. I know you're up to something, Alice. Sneaking around, meeting people. What are you planning? I kept my tone light, almost amused. You're imagining things, Sarah. Maybe you're stressed. Don't play dumb, she snapped. You're not as clever as you think. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Good night, Sarah. I hung up, her words echoing but not shaking me. She was fishing, but I wasn't biting. Not yet. Later, alone in the dim light of my laptop, I refreshed my inbox. Mary's final message glowed. Shell company active. Mortgage talks start tomorrow. My lips curled, a quiet thrill running through me. The plan was real now, a machine humming to life. I closed the laptop, my eyes catching the briefcase on the table. It's leather-worn but unyielding. Sarah's call lingered, a warning note, but I was ready. The front door swung open, and Sarah's smile was all teeth, too bright to trust. "Alice, so glad you came," she said, her voice syrupy as she ushered me into the house. The suburban Chicago glow was gone, replaced by gaudy marble countertops and unopened wine bottles lining the kitchen island. Tom stood by the dining table, fidgeting with a glossy brochure, his eyes avoiding mine. The air felt like a trap snapping shut. "Sit, Mom," Tom said, his tone forced like he was reading a script. I stayed standing, my arms crossed, the briefcase at my feet. Sarah perched on a stool, her manicure tapping the counter. "We want to clear the air," she said, but her eyes were calculating, scanning me like a ledger. "Then clear it," I said, my voice flat. Tom cleared his throat, shoving the brochure toward me. "We're renovating. New deck, chef's kitchen, the works. It's an investment." His voice sped up, greedy. "You could help. You owe us, Mom, after all we've done." I picked up the brochure, flipping through images of granite islands and glass showers. The price tag was obscene. "Oh, you," I said, tossing it back. "I gave you this house. My savings. My life." Sarah's laugh was sharp, cutting. "Don't you want us to be happy, Alice? Or are you just bitter? Hoarding your pennies?" My jaw tightened, but I didn't flinch. "I'm done paying for your greed," I said, each word a stone. Tom's face reddened. "You're ungrateful." He threw the brochure down, pages fluttering. "We let you stay here, and this is how you act? Let me." I stepped forward, my voice low, steady. "This was my home. You took it." Sarah stood, her fake tears gleaming. "Get out if you're going to be like this," she shouted, slamming the kitchen door as I grabbed my briefcase. I walked out, her insults chasing me, the front doors slam, a final punctuation. Back in my apartment, I opened my laptop, the shell company's latest update glowing. "Mortgage transfer in progress." My phone buzzed, Tom's text. "Please, Mom, reconsider." I stared at it, my finger hovering, then deleted it. The screen went dark, but my path was clear. The coffee shop buzzed, a blur of chatter and espresso steam. I sat in the corner, my laptop screen dimmed, typing an email to Tom's boss. "Check his expense reports. Discrepancies in Q3. My finger hovered over send, a flicker of hesitation, then clicked. The message vanished, anonymous, a dart aimed at Tom's career. I sipped my coffee, the bitter taste grounding me. Later, in Jack Crow's law office, I spread papers across his desk, my notes meticulous. "Greenfield Holdings is locked down," I said, tapping the shell company's charter. "No trace to me." Jack leaned back, his worn briefcase at his side. "You're playing a dangerous game, Alice," he said, his voice low, cautious. I met his gaze, unflinching. "It's my game now." He nodded, sliding a legal memo my way. "This keeps you clean. But if they dig, it won't be easy." "They won't dig," I said, folding the memo into my briefcase. "Not yet." Outside, near Tom's house, I nearly collided with Mrs. Delaney, the nosy neighbor, her eyes sharp under her knit hat. "Alice, what brings you here?" she asked, her tone too curious. "Just visiting old friends," I said, smiling, my pulse quickening. I sidestepped her, heading for my car, her stare burning my back. At home, I dialed the bank, confirming the mortgage transfer. "Greenfield Holdings, final approval," I said, my voice steady. The clerk's confirmation was music, precise and final. I hung up, my eyes on the briefcase, its leather a silent partner. My phone blinked, Sarah's voicemail. "Alice, we need to talk. Stop ignoring us." I ignored it, opening my inbox instead. The bank's email glowed. "Mortgage transfer approved." My breath caught, a quiet victory pulsing through me. I saved the email, my fingers steady, and set the phone down. The door to their world was closing, and I held the key. The park bench was cold under me, the bare branches of Lincoln Park clawing at the gray Chicago sky. I was halfway through a sip of coffee when Sarah stormed up, her coat flapping like a warning flag. "You're digging into our business, Alice," she snapped, her voice loud enough to turn heads. Her finger jabbed the air, inches from my face. "I saw you with that woman sneaking around." I set the cup down, my movements slow, deliberate. "Good to see you too, Sarah," I said, my tone even, almost bored. Her cheeks flushed, but I held her gaze unblinking. "Don't play coy," she hissed, leaning closer. "You're scheming, and I'll make sure you never see us again if you don't stop. Not Tom, not the kids, nobody." My lips twitched, not quite a smile. "You don't decide who I am anymore," I said, my voice low, cutting. "Careful, Sarah. You're not as untouchable as you think." She froze, her eyes narrowing, but I stood, brushing past her. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A bank alert. I didn't check it yet, but the weight of it steadied me. Sarah's voice chased me, shrill but fading. This isn't over, Alice. Back in my apartment, I spread transfer papers across the table, my pen moving with precision. The phone rang. Mary. It's done, Alice, she said, her voice crisp. Funds cleared. Mortgage is yours. Good, I said, signing the last page. No hitches. None. You're a ghost. I hung up, the papers a quiet victory under my hands. The park confrontation lingered, but it didn't shake me. Sarah thought she could scare me off. She was wrong. I stepped to the window, the city's lights flickering below, and checked the bank notification. Transfer complete. Greenfield Holdings. My jaw tightened, a spark of triumph flaring. I pocketed the phone and turned away, the next move already forming. The drawer creaked as I pulled it open, my fingers brushing an old envelope. Tom's handwriting stared up at me, boyish and uneven. Mom, I'll make you proud. My chest tightened, the words pulling me back. Years ago, in a sterile Chicago bank, I'd sat across from a loan officer, signing away my savings to clear Tom's debts. My pen had trembled then, but my voice was steady. He's worth it, I'd told myself. Tom had stood by the door, barely meeting my eyes. I'll pay you back, okay? He'd muttered. I'd nodded, hopeful. Just stay out of trouble. He'd left without another word, the door clicking shut. I blinked, the memory fading. The apartment was dim, the letters faded ink, a ghost of that day. My sacrifices, my career, my security, had meant nothing to him. I owed him nothing now. The phone buzzed. Tom's text. We need to talk, Mom. Something's off. I ignored it, grabbing my coat. Mary was waiting at her office, the loop skyscrapers looming outside her window. We sat at a sleek table, mortgage documents spread between us. We're almost there, Mary said, sliding a lean report my way. One last signature, and the house is Greenfield's. No turning back, I said, my pen gliding over the page. My focus was iron, the letters weight of fuel, not a chain. Mary leaned back, her eyes sharp. You're colder than I remember, Alice. Life does that, I said, stacking the papers. Back home, I held the letter over the sink, a match flaring in my hand. The paper curled, blackening, ashes drifting like snow. Tom's text glowed on my phone unanswered. The flames died, and I turned away, my steps sure. The past was gone. The future was mine to shape. Jack's office smelled of old books and stale coffee, the desk buried under legal tomes. I sat across from him, my pen marking clauses in the mortgage transfer papers. Final step, I said, my voice steady, commanding. The house is mine. Jack nodded, his glasses glinting. This is airtight, Alice. Eviction notices are next. He slid a draft across, the words stark. Notice to vacate. My signature was bold, each stroke a claim. It better be, I said, stacking the papers. No leaks. None, he said, his tone firm. You're covered. I left the office, the notices in my briefcase, their weight a promise. The loop was alive, horns blaring, but I stopped at a crowded cafe for a quick coffee. Halfway to the counter, I froze. Sarah was there, her back to me, ordering. My pulse spiked. I ducked behind a menu, pretending to take a call. Yes, I'm on my way, I said loudly, slipping toward the door. Sarah turned, her eyes squinting, suspicious. Alice, she called, stepping forward. Just passing through, I said, my smile tight, and pushed out into the street. Her stare burned, but I kept moving, the briefcase a shield. Back in my apartment, I spread the eviction notices on the table, their words a quiet triumph. My phone blinked, Tom's voicemail. Mom, what's going on? The bank's calling us. His voice was frayed, desperate. I didn't listen twice. The notices stared up, crisp and final. I gripped them, my knuckles white, envisioning the moment they'd land in Tom's hands. The door to their world was locked, and I held the only key. The door to Tom and Sarah's house swung open, its familiar creak a faint echo of my past. I stepped inside, my briefcase heavy with purpose, my stride cutting through the suburban Chicago air. Sarah's smile froze mid-greeting, her coffee mug trembling. Tom, sprawled on the couch, sat up, eyes narrowing. Mom, what's this about? I set the briefcase on the dining table, the wood scratched from their careless years. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady, a blade wrapped in silk. I pulled out the eviction notice, its paper crisp, and placed it down, deliberate, like laying a winning card. This house is mine now. You have 30 days to leave. Sarah's laugh was shrill, forced. You're bluffing, Alice. You can't do this. She snatched the paper, her eyes scanning, widening with panic. Tom leaped up, pacing, his hands raking his hair. This is insane, Mom. You're betraying us. Betraying? I met his gaze, unflinching. You made your choices. Now live with them. Sarah's voice cracked, pleading now. How could you do this to us, Alice? To your family? Her hands clutched the notice, crumpling it. I didn't blink. You called me nobody. I'm just proving you wrong. Tom's fist slammed the table. Then he grabbed a glass, hurling it against the wall. It shattered, shards glinting on the floor. You won't get away with this, he roared, his face red, veins bulging. Sarah sank into a chair, muttering, This can't be real. I stood taller, my presence filling the room. It's real. The mortgage is mine. The law is clear. I snapped the briefcase shut, the sound sharp, final. Sarah's sobs followed me as I turned to the door. Alice, wait, she called, but I didn't pause. Outside, the Chicago dusk was cold, my breath clouding as I walked to my car. Tom's shout echoed behind me, raw and desperate. You'll regret this, Mom. The door slammed, but I kept moving, the eviction notice left like a guillotine on their table. My car's engine purred to life, and I drove off, the house shrinking in the rearview. A chapter closing. The laptop screen glowed in my dim apartment, the headline screaming. Chicago mother evicts son in heartless power grab. Tom's face, tear-streaked, filled the accompanying photo. Sarah clutching his arm at a press conference. His voice played in a clip. She's tearing our family apart. I closed the tab, my jaw tight but my hands steady. They were fighting dirty, but I was ready. I dialed Jack, pacing the creaky floor. They've got a lawyer, I said when he answered. And the media. Jack's voice was calm, seasoned. They're grasping at straws, Alice. Their case is weak. You've got the records. Make it bulletproof, I said, my tone clipped. We met in his loop office, legal books stacked like fortress walls. I spread bank records across the desk, my pen circling dates and signatures. The transfer's clean, I said, pointing to a key clause. They can't contest this. Jack nodded, scribbling notes. Let them try. We'll bury them in court. Outside my building later, a reporter ambushed me, her microphone thrusting forward like a weapon. Miss Green, is it true you're evicting your son for revenge? Her eyes gleamed, hungry for a soundbite. I smiled, cool, composed. The truth will come out in court, I said, brushing past her. She called after me, but I slipped inside, the door locking with a satisfying click. Back at my desk, I watched their press conference again, Tom's voice shaking, Sarah's eyes darting. Their lawyer, a slick man in a cheap suit, claimed fraud, but I knew their evidence was smoke. My phone buzzed, another article, more lies. I ignored it, arranging court papers in neat stacks. The hearing was days away and I was ready. The city hummed outside, but my focus was a laser, cutting through their noise. I set the last paper down, my reflection in the window sharp, unyielding. Before you continue listening to this story, please click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers by the end of this week. The courtroom was silent, the judge's gavel a quiet thunder. The mortgage transfer is valid, she said, her voice clear, final. The challenge is dismissed. I stood, my nod subtle, my spine straight. Across the aisle, Tom slumped, his face ashen. Sarah was already gone, her seat empty, her absence a surrender. The gallery murmured, but I heard only victory. Jack clapped my shoulder as we left, his grin rare. You did it, Alice. I did, I said, my voice soft but sure. Outside the courthouse, Tom lingered, his phone buzzing. His boss, no doubt, firing him for the expense fraud I'd exposed. He didn't look at me, but I paused. Goodbye, Tom, I said, the words a full stop. He flinched, then turned away, alone. The house was next. I walked its empty rooms, the marble countertops cold, the gaudy decor stripped. The realtor handed me sale papers, her handshake warm. Quick sale, she said. You're free now. I signed, my pen steady, the proceeds enough for a new start. The door clicked shut as I left, the sound final like a lock turning. My new apartment was small, practical. The Chicago skyline a jagged promise through the window. I unpacked a single box, pulling out a photo me years ago, smiling at a finance conference, my eyes fierce. I set it on a shelf, the frame catching the light. The city hummed below, alive, and I was part of it again. I stood at the window, my reflection calm, whole. The phone stayed silent, no calls, no pleas. Tom and Sarah were gone, their greed a fading echo. The briefcase sat in the corner, its leather worn but proud, a relic of the woman I'd reclaimed. I turned away, the skyline calling, my steps light, ready for whatever came next. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like this video and click on the subscribe button. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the week, so that as many people as possible can learn about this story. We also recommend listening to our previous story. It is even more shocking. Just click on the box on the left to play it. Thank you for watching.